Something wrong with you. I don't know what it is, but something's not right.
You told me we had like 5 more minutes before we're ready to go.
How did you grow an afro in 5 minutes?
Yeah. Last week, I said I would have hair, and I said I would have a badge for it. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody thought you were serious. This is weird, man. It's like the Crypto Comics Chia Pet.
This is how my hair used to look until middle school.
Oh, huh.
Actually, at one point in time, I had that flat top, the whole
Like
kid and
Hidden
play
Play?
thing. Yep, it was the tower.
Bro, I'm going to be totally honest with you. You kind of look like somebody threw a troll doll in a dryer. Oh, there's a weird one. Dominic Kobe's in saying, Ribbit, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Nobody's losing over on Twitch. Says, how's everyone doing? It's fine. Monday. Okay. Matt's hair is good. It's so big that it's not even in frame. It's like 3 times the size of that giant melon. It's got its own weather system.
It does.
There's small satellites orbiting around it at this point.
It's got its own gravity.
When it goes to sleep, it lays down on that huge pillow. Kobe comes in on YouTube saying, oh, so that's what Matt's hair looks like. And Illusion says, I can't unsee this. Then Facebook user says, hey, keep in mind that if you are watching us on Facebook, depending on which platform you are using, like say if it's a personal page or anything like that, if you haven't given Facebook approval to use your name and profile picture, we respect that and we don't use it here either. So you'll just show up as Facebook user anonymously. So feel free to mock Matt's hair and he could never track you down. Just don't be mean to me. Dominic will be on YouTube says, to be honest, I'm surprised you're able to get this stream together so fast. To go, I admit, I'm impressed. Thank you. Joe says, so fluffy.
Wait.
I'm imagining Joe sitting there like the little girl off of Despicable Me now, just squeezing you, running around the office. It's so fluffy. Is that the right movie that I'm thinking of? The little girl?
Yes. Right? Yeah, Despicable Me.
Nobody says, by the way, congrats on 500 subs on YouTube. Thank you. I think Joe would be really excited. That was his goal for a long time.
Yes, it was.
Dietrich's over on YouTube saying, hey, guys, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
What up? All right, so going into tonight's stream, Dominic
Yes.
Colby came up with a suggestion, so thank you, Dominic.
Thank you, Dominic. So
The idea
tonight,
is
yeah, we're going to be kind of understanding the difference between comics versus the cinematic storytelling. Basically, comics versus movies.
yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to probably have to retitle this because we're going to come up with way more than 10, I'm sure. Either Matt or myself will start going on a tangent on something, and it's going to turn into 65 things that are wrong in movies.
All right. So before we start, I want to ask everybody a question. Chime in with two things. One being your favorite comic book movie, and the second being what you think is the most comic accurate movie.
And we will tear both apart. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we might. I don't know. I'm prepared to tear apart Batman at this point.
Batman has made quite a few differences throughout the his cinematic adventures.
There's a great one. Nobody's Illusion comes in on fire already, saying Scott Pilgrim. This is like such an underrated comic movie.
I have to say,
so good.
It is one of the most, in my opinion, the most comic accurate movie I've ever seen.
I would totally agree with that. I mean,
all right, so
good.
Should we kick off with some actual movies that people didn't realize were comic book movies?
Okay, love it. I like that idea. I wasn't planning on this one. That's good.
All right, we have a lot of people don't know that From Hell was a comic. Alan Moore, History of Violence, Men in Black, Red and Red 2, of course. Great comics. One of my personal favorites, Road to Perdition, starring Tom Hanks. Well, Tank Girl, of course, which is probably one of Fry's favorites.
Tank Girl is so good.
Okay.
So good.
TMNT, you got the Turtles. They started out as comics.
Wait a minute. Back up just a little bit. You said Tank Girl, and then you said probably one of Fry's favorites. Was that a dig at Tank Girl, Matt? Are you trying to dig at Tank Girl?
I happen to enjoy Tank Girl to a point, but I'm sure it's one of your favorites.
Let's see here real quick. Dominic Cooley comes in on YouTube saying he's going to hide in a hole after sending this, but Wolverine Origins. Haven't read any of the comics, but I've seen the movies. So
okay, is that your favorite, or is that what you're considering the most comic accurate?
He's definitely not. I'm speaking on his behalf. There's no way he's saying that was comic accurate.
Good. All right.
I'm saying it's one of his favorites, which is cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Man. Hey, you know what? I actually enjoyed that. If you could separate yourself from a lot of the comic book history and look at it as, Hugh Jackman and Liv Schreiber just having fun, it was a good movie. But if you're going by comic book accuracy, it fails horribly. They got the title right. That's about it.
It should be put out back in a pasture and shot and put down.
All right.
If you're going off of comic accuracy. Hold on. Nobody's Illusion says Tank Girl was going to be my second.
Okay.
Great, man. I like that you popped in Scott Pilgrim, though. That one's often overlooked.
Oh, yeah. I was actually just doing some research a little bit, and I found a YouTube video, and they were talking about how comic book accurate that was, and they were going through the script, and it was straight from the comic itself.
That's so good.
Yeah. All right. We also have Whiteout. I don't know how many people know about this movie. It's a 2009 one starring Kate, the vampire girl, Beckinsale. Yes. We have, of course, the Phantom.
I met Kate Beckinsale at a convention, and I'm not even overstating this, guys. She looks like a wax figure in person. Like, her skin is perfect. The only way to explain it is it looks like it's made of wax, not because she's got like oily skin or something, but just because it's absolutely flawless to the point that it stands out.
Really?
She's very, very kind lady too. But yeah,
You know, I've heard that about her. I really feel like she should be in more comic book movies.
I do too.
Like,
Underworld was kind of based
loosely off of comic properties.
Yeah, probably shouldn't list that because
Yeah, that it took inspiration.
got
We'll say
paid.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Dominic Colby says, I heard Umbrella Academy was a comic book movie. It is.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a show, but close enough.
Mm-hmm. And it's really
My Chemical Romance. Was it the
Gerard
lead
Way?
singer for that?
Right, Gerard Way. I think that's his name.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to Google it. What is his name? That's gonna bother me. What is his name?
Please tell me you're not just Googling what is his name, because you're going to get all sorts of weird stuff.
Of course, that's Gerard Way. I guess you're right.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to say he's the writer. I don't think he did the art. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, he was the lead singer though, right? From My Chemical Romance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then we have one of, I have to say, my second favorite Chris Evans portrayal in a comic book movie, The Losers.
Ooh. Yeah. Forgot that Chris Evans was in there.
Oh, yeah.
He's like in every comic movie.
Yep. All right, so chime in. I'm talking about, these are the comic book movies that most people don't know about. You can't really, claim Daredevil or Batman or Superman or any of those. Like, if it's got DC or Marvel attached to the title, everybody knows it's a comic book movie. So,
Yeah, but that doesn't stop them from making them different from the source material, though.
They are generally 100% different, but that scenario has been going on since cinema first came about. I mean, if you look at what they've done with Lord of the Rings, movies, or just anything that started out as any kind of literature, they're going to take huge swings at it, and they're not exactly going to stick with the initial format.
Okay, hold on. Nobody's Illusion says, what about Brightburn? I heard that movie was good. Brightburn,
that movie was amazing.
Movie. And I feel like at this point, you're just going back through notes of movies that we've told you to watch.
Okay, picture Superman Earth 3. And then you have Brightburn.
Don't put
the origin story
that way. Like, nobody read Superman Earth 3. Nobody read it.
But a good version of Superman Earth 3.
Basically, imagine when Superman was still a kid, if he decided to be a kid and do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
If Superman child was a hood rat, that's what you can imagine.
Oh, Dietrich comes in with a Rocketeer.
Ooh,
yes, that one. It's one of my favorite movies. It came out on my 11th birthday, so I got to see it in theaters the day it came out. And yeah.
Ooh, remember Darkman? That's another one that.
Darkman was good. Liam Neeson. It was good.
Yeah.
I want to say Sam Raimi directed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way before he did the Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was after his Evil Dead, but before Spider-Man. So sandwiched in there.
Evil Dead still rules.
Dude, Evil Dead is awesome. I love those movies. All right. So you guys realize that, the format is so much different. Comic books are meant to be read, right? Mm-hmm. Versus a movie, it's all that, it's in motion.
Unless you're watching anime, then you have to read that too.
Well, yeah. So the problem with the comic books, and I don't mean this as a problem as a bad way, I'm talking about where it comes to actually going up on the big screen. You can just flip between pages so easily, and you're studying each page. So many people are like, I love this art by this creator, and they'll just admire everything and take it all in. Therefore, you could jump back to a certain scene at any point in time. If they reference something that happened over here, you're going to go back, which means those subtle little clues won't get missed.
That's a good
So
point.
a plot hole in a comic book is going to shine bright versus the plot hole in a movie. You might be able to overlook it a little bit.
Okay, but if that were entirely true, then you'd be able to tell. I don't know if this is accurate. Yeah, if that were entirely true, then you'd be able to tell Joker's history. But you can't.
Oh, I love the fact that in the comics, okay, it's still up for debate if the Three Jokers is an Elseworld story or not.
That's why I hesitated, because I guess you could.
See, I love the Three Jokers, but I also love the fact that it was Elseworld and it had nothing to do with the continuity. But then they mixed in a little bit of continuity and then mentioned it in other places, and so it was like, is it an Elseworld or not? Because there's distinct differences with going on with Red Hood versus in that comic and out of that comic. So had they just said it's an Elseworld, I'd have been like, this is the perfect comic.
Okay, so say then that there was an indie comic. You had the budget right now to make a movie, not like a whole series of movies, but one movie. Which indie comic would you choose that you think would perform well enough that you'd be able to continue making movies off of that universe? Which indie comic would you choose?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't be your own. You know what I mean? That
would be nice.
But I mean, what do you think? Here, while you're thinking about that, let me catch up on chat. I'll give you a second here, bro. Kobe comes in over on YouTube saying it's not a comic, but something I'd love to see turned into a movie is the Shadow Children's series, aka Among the Hidden, Among the Brave, etc. Could be pretty cool. I've heard really good things about that, but I haven't actually read them. Let's see. Dietrich says Darkman and the Phantom. The Phantom was great. That was actually really good. Oh my god, Dick Tracy. That was actually a really good comic adaptation.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved that they had all those big stars in it, and it was good.
Yeah, you can see what Madonna looked like when she was like in her 60s.
And normal-ish.
Nobody's Losing says Evil Dead and Ash versus Evil Dead is awesome. Absolutely. I love Ash versus Evil Dead. Just got here and I'm really into Matt's new hair, by the way. It's Vlad.
Thank you.
Joke's on you guys. He's been wearing a skin cap every stream up until now. He just decided to let it loose because we hit 500 subs.
All right.
Okay, so one indie comic that you would make.
All right. Are we talking like an anime style ongoing series? Or are we talking just like a cartoon that would be fun to watch? Or are we talking
the style and everything would be up to you, but something where, like, I mean, say you were a producer, you know what I mean? And I came to you right now and I said, look, I want you to find one indie comic to make a movie about that you think would be so successful that it would launch the universe. So you're Iron Man 1. You know what I mean?
Temerity.
You would go with Temerity on that one?
I would.
Focused on a character or outside of character?
I would focus it. No, just keep it, with the crew. Guardians of the Galaxy style Temerity, it works perfect. But then again, if I was going to make like that really gritty, kind of long-lasting series, like you would see on HBO Max or something like that, I would have to go with Morningstar.
I like that. See, if I was gonna choose one, Morningstar was actually it would come down to a tie. It would either be Morningstar or it would be Out of Order, because I think either of
Oh,
those would make an amazing like
well,
initial introduction story and then building upon that universe. But if I really had the money to make the movie, I would go to Something Is Killing the Children,
okay.
even though it's indie, but we're using that term really loosely here because there is a lot of money behind that book. However, there's a lot of money behind that book because it's performing so well. So,
What about what is it? The Department uh, H or
Department of
something like that.
Truth.
Department of
Department of
Truth.
Truth.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good one too. You know what though? I'm willing to bet the Department of Truth is going to be made into a movie. Honestly, I don't.
I
I don't
That's
see a
one
world
that
where that
deserves a
doesn't get made.
series. That can't just be one. That's got to be a whole series, though.
Ooh, that could be. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, to where it turns into like a kind of a sequential storytelling,
Oh
kind
yeah.
of like the way they do Mandalorian, where it's
Hmm.
just rotating through the different storylines. I could see that work. That could actually be really cool. Now I kind of want that. I also
So
want to see Morningstar made that way, though. That would be a really good one.
yeah.
To see how would
But
you do
Morningstar, I
Morningstar?
want that grittiness. Okay, if you guys haven't read Morningstar, it is the story of Lucifer told in a western, right?
Mm.
Um, by Jeremy Burley. He's absolutely amazing. He's crushing it. Go follow his YouTube channel. Go support him on
He just put
Patreon.
up a really cool video too. Shout
What
out
was
to
that?
Jeremy. He just put up a really cool video.
I haven't watched it yet. Don't you dare say anything about it.
It is really good. It's good. It's the first time in a long time that I felt the need to message a creator personally afterwards and be like, dude, this video was fantastic. Like, so you know what? Okay, here we go. We're going so far off the path here, guys. Sorry. We'll change the name of the stream later. But so you're making Morningstar into a movie, right?
Hmm.
Give me another movie that you would base the style of this Morningstar movie off of, or TV show, whatever you want to call it. But how would you make Morningstar? What other program would you model it after? Personally, and this is probably going to go totally against anything that Jeremy would ever agree with, I would want to see like a Quentin Tarantino Western style
No, you
done
see,
with it.
the first I do like that idea, but it starts out with that real lonesome dove feel.
Ooh, good too.
It's so good, but then when it gets violent, it goes hard, and it is good.
That could be good too. I like that idea. Ooh. But okay, now it gets even more difficult. Would you how heavy would you go with the CGI, or would you try to stick with practical effects? Because
Okay, look at the Mandalorian. How they're doing it is
mm-hmm.
absolutely phenomenal. Where they're mixing the special effects and the practical effects. Um, you got to go with that style. You gotta keep it 50-50.
Let's see here. Nobody's illusion comes in and says Zolok Unleashed. That would be
Yes.
huge. Okay,
Yes.
so here's a problem. Nobody's. Which book would you start with though? What would you cater as the introduction to that universe? You know what I mean? Because
So
I don't
you
think the
wouldn't go
handbook
season
would
one
go.
and then go back to zero?
I don't know. Actually, I would probably, if it were up to me, I would probably start with some of the more current issues and then do the whole Star Wars thing where you start in the middle and then go back to the prequels.
Okay.
Reason being is because I think the only way to do Zolok correctly is to leave enough off the table until the prequels came out to answer who each of the characters are and what they're about.
All right.
Because if you read their more like the more current releases, that's probably not a Dietrich's help me here. What's a better way of wording this? If you read the more current storylines, they have a lot of callbacks. to the older elements, but you don't have to read any of the older books to understand what's happening now. And so I think that I would make the movie that same way in order to try to make it closer to the comics. But I think in order to do that, you would have to start current and then go backwards. Dietrich's probably tell me I'm an idiot, though.
Probably.
Might happen. T3 comes in over on Twitch saying, Mall Babies, it's coming soon. Right on. Nobody's Illusion says, by the way, Something's Killing the Children is going to be a Netflix. See, I knew it. I knew it. That and Department of Truth are definitely.
I don't think it should be a Netflix series. I think it should be an Amazon Prime series.
Why? You don't want to pay for Netflix?
I have both, actually.
But why?
But look at what Amazon Prime is doing with Jack Ryan, with what's the other one? Why can't I think of it?
Exactly, Matt.
No, it's on the tip of my tongue. I love the Jack Reacher stories, right? Look at what they're doing over there. Then they do have the Lord of the Rings series, but Netflix focuses mostly on their high budget movies, and then all their shows, they'll cancel it for no reason after one season, where there's always a cliffhanger. They're like, we're done.
So I think that Amazon did really well with The Boys.
Oh, The Boys is
really
amazing.
Well with that.
Yes. Comic property.
But I think that Netflix will do better with Something's Killing the Children. Mainly because I think that Netflix will... There's a few topics inside of that book that really push the envelope on things. As far as like... Especially things that are like more current and more modern. You know what I mean? Social media, like all those kind of things. And I think Netflix
can't afford that anymore. They're going to avoid that. I mean, there was that other show about the kids that we're not going to name it right now. And that caused a lot of controversy. There was huge boycotts. They can't have a show like that boycott, lose a whole bunch of people, and then come out with a series, Something's Killing the Children.
Dude, I don't think you could come out with anything without it being boycotted at this point.
That's true.
I mean, somebody out there right now is already prepping a meme that's boycotting your hair.
Probably. Like, it's probably you, isn't it?
Bring back the real Matt. And, you know what I mean? Hashtag not my Matt.
Here's one that I would actually love to see.
Give me 1 second to catch up on chat?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, sorry, man. We're having fun. T3 says, this time terror is teething. I think he's talking about Mall Babies. Nobody's Illusions says, LOL. Dominic Colby says, if we could do a series of any indie comic, I would choose I Drive for Cerberus. Oh, shit, that'd be a good one, too. Actually, that would be a really good property, because... Okay.
I'm familiar with it, never read it.
Full disclosure, I'm saying that because the creator may not have divulged some of the ideas that they have for where that story is going, which excites me more than a lot of the books that I see currently being manufactured. Don't get me wrong, I love just about everything, but he's got some wild ideas and that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, where everything is being boycotted and everything is going. He's got some really cool ideas. I don't think that I'm really greenlit to share anything on that, to be totally honest with you guys. That wouldn't be cool to me anyways. But I really like the ideas that are coming from that. Here's what I will say. Go out and just Google search I Drive for Cerberus and follow along. I know he's got a Kickstarter campaign. I want to say he's actually even got a TikTok set up for the book right now.
Really?
So go and search for that. That way you find the information for the book itself, and you guys can see. But he posts a lot of videos as well, and so I'm having a hard time remembering what he told me personally and what I've just seen by following him on social media. So I don't want to say anything, you know what I mean, that gives anything away. But that would be a cool one, Dominic. So really good. Says, T3 says, I'm actually dead serious. Like my ass off. We're trying to make it a Spielberg style. The Mall Babies.
Terror Time is TV.
You gotta have the Jurassic Park gates as like the gates to a Build-A-Bear workshop or something. Gotta have those Spielberg callbacks. Nobody just says the boys. Thank you. Yes. Dietrich says if you start with season 1 and do highlights from season 0 in season 1, and then in season 2 it would reach back in and bring it into the present.
Okay.
As far as the handbooks, it could be flashbacks from the god's point of view. Somebody's been thinking about this, obviously. Cheater. You're supposed to be thinking on our feet here. Facebook user says, I don't care who does it. I just pray that they can put the work on hold long enough to tell the story. You can say that about any comic property, though. Pale Rider would be sick. Nobody's Loser says, yes, it's TikTok. I drive for service. Nobody's Loser says TikTok is sick. And I believe that we shared that while he was on our stream. I think. I don't know, man. I'm a fan of that dude's TikTok. He's so much fun to watch. T2 Comic says, like the way the lighting is, I love his style and the way the scenes are set up and viewed. Yeah, well, you're the artist, so you get to make whatever camera angles you want, my man. Okay.
All right.
Did I ruin your train of thought, or should we get back on
topic?
Nope.
I want to ask you what you think about Wasp.
Like in the movies?
No, I'm not talking about like the Marvel character or anything like that. I'm referring to Wasp as in Valerie's comic about the women in the armed forces.
I would say absolutely yes. However, I don't see that being a long-running show unless it was set up as a proper documentary.
See, I would love to see it like almost a documentary mixed with a miniseries. You remember, what was it, Band of Brothers, where they had the interviews at the beginning? Mm-hmm. That would be so amazing, I think.
Oh, shit, you're right. Actually, I want to change my answer to that.
That would just be fun and entertaining and educational at the same time. All right. So one of the major reasons that comics and movies, they just didn't seem to mesh so well way back when, and you never get a comic accurate movie, is simply for, like I said before, kind of the formatting. But even look as far as panel size. Okay. With, the smaller frames, I've seen a lot of text within that frame. And then the bigger frames showing a lot of action, not so heavy-handed on the wording. I actually have one pulled up right now, so I can show you.
Well, there's a lot of things too when you think about that, like Deadpool, where do you remember the yellow panels? I don't even know if that's still a thing. Am I really dating myself on age here? So in Deadpool, they used to use a little yellow panel on the page, and that was his inner monologue. That was what Deadpool was thinking to himself. And I always thought that was really cool. And there's really no way of putting it in a movie, but I guess they kind of do.
That's another thing. The inner monologue and those thought bubbles, they were so vital to the storytelling of a comic. But at the same time, how do you put it in a movie or a TV show without a voiceover and looking corny?
Yeah, and because the actor can kind of play it out to let you know what they're thinking. But aside from that, I don't know. You could always do like the narrator in a movie. Like,
but that only goes so far. Like, look at the Blade movies, right? Great movies based off a comic book. But had they added narration over the top, that would have really taken that the serious level down a little bit.
Here, I'm going to switch our perspective here real quick so that people can see the page a little better there. But.
So, as you can see, those really important events, this is from the Airship Enterprise, where it's just this massive steampunk Enterprise crashing. And where
Totally
it's
not
so
borrowing from an
important.
IP of any other property. Not in any way.
Now, I have no idea what you're talking about. But as you can see, it just two full pages right there,
Mm-hmm.
versus the text are in these smaller panels. Now, another thing is if you look at the old Spider-Mans, you look at uh, any of the Batmans, they're giving that exposition in the middle of a fight. You never see
Yeah.
that in movies. I mean, if you look at the last James Bond movie, when James Bond and the Bond girl are fighting all those other people, had they actually stopped and talked in the middle of that fight, it would have really taken you out of that fight.
Is it bad of me, guys, that I haven't watched a James Bond movie since like the early '90s?
Oh, like Pierce Brosnan there?
I don't even think I've seen a Pierce Brosnan
So
Bond.
you're going way back and saying Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, I've seen a few of the Timothy Dalton ones. I really liked the what's his name from the guy in The Rock? What is it? Sean Connery.
Sean
Really
Connery?
liked his, especially the clothing. The clothing choices were great. But yeah, I've got nothing against him. Don't get me wrong. I just like never sat down and watched them. Isn't that
Okay, if Henry
weird?
Cavill gets cast as the new James Bond, would you
There's
go
a
see it?
billion% chance I'd be there on opening day. He's
Okay.
Henry Cavill, dude. Like, guys, I'm not even like a huge DC fan, and he's Superman. Just done. You know what I mean? He's so good in
All
like
right. Should we
anything that
talk
you
about
can.
the difference between Superman,
Oh,
kind of what they got going on in the movies versus the
The
comics?
Witcher. The Witcher was technically a graphic novel originally, and then
Wasn't it a
turned
novel before the
it was
graphic novel?
turned from a graphic novel to a novel, and then it was properly made into a graphic novel, and then it was turned into a television show. So technically, we could add that to our list. I
Well,
mean, we're
you
pushing
got to add the
technicality.
games in there too.
Yeah, but yeah. All right, everybody in chat, your favorite comic book to game adaptation. We're gonna keep going though. Okay, so Superman, or actually, I need to check up on chat,
Yeah, because I
and
got to
then we're
think of
talking
my
about
favorite
Superman.
game to comic to game adaptation.
Yeah,
No,
and
I
then
don't need to think about that. No, I don't. Any of the Arkham series. Done.
hold on, Matt.
Done.
We're catching
Done.
up on chat here. Everybody yell at
Didn't
Matt
get
in
caught
chat.
up.
T3 Comics on Twitch says, "Then just get caught up, just get done, man." T3 says, "Miniseries like Aqua Teen Hunger Force for That's So Petty. That could actually work.
Oh
Works really
yeah.
well. Band of Brothers, you can't go wrong with. Nobody Illusion says, oh yeah, what about Dream Keepers? Dream
I
Keepers
would.
would have to be an animated movie.
Yeah. Well, no, that one it's got to be an animated series. Okay, I'm
Or
talking
series.
short runs. One comic would be a whole series kind of thing. Like you really got to break it down. Or
You know, it would
season.
be cool. Animated like the old school He-Man cartoons. Like the old school
Oh
G.I.
no,
Joe
no, no,
style.
no.
Bro, that'd be so awesome. I'm
I
gonna
would
talk to
like to
David
see
Lilly.
old school animation, not CGI,
David Lilly
or
probably
not the
slapped me for
80s.
even saying that.
Yeah, not the 80s.
I think it'd be cool. Dude, like, oh, I'd have so much fun watching that. Like the old Voltron cartoons. Anybody ever see those? They were terrible. So good. So
No,
good. And
because
so
I don't
bad.
want to see Dream Keepers reduced to that because it's so good as of now.
It would still
But
stand
I
on its own
don't
though,
want
because it's
that
got good storytelling.
extreme high quality that it loses that edge. I like look at the Tom and Jerry movie. No,
I want to see
but
both. I want to see a terrible one come out at low budget so that I can just get my fix, and then everybody get upset that it's such bad quality, and so a high quality version is made, and then
okay.
I'm in a win-win situation. I
I
want
have the
Dreamkeepers
solution
to
for
do
you.
what Heavy Metal did.
I have no. Oh boy, he went there. Okay, I have a solution for you. You have a scene where they're watching a show, right, on like
So like,
a TV, And it's that old 80s style for you.
You know what we
And
need
then
to
it goes
do,
back into the regular style.
Matt? We need to do an entire show where it's just me and you, Mystery Science Theater style, watching like good and terrible old adaptations.
I am totally down.
It's only going to work for about 10 minutes before we get hit with a copyright strike, but it would be so fun to do. Okay, so let me keep going with chat here. Sorry. T3 says that's beautiful color work. I'm talking about Airship there. Nobody's Illusion says, oh, the Black Blossom. That one would also be great.
See, Black
Oh, and
Blossom I see as more of like a CW kind of show.
no, it's way better than that.
No, look at what they're doing with Lois, Superman and Lois. Almost said Lois.
I
and
haven't
Clark.
watched a single CW
It's
show,
dude.
not even one.
The
None of the
Superman
Flash
one is
stuff.
actually pretty high budget and it's pretty good.
Oh, you know, I'm sorry. I watched Supernatural, and I guess technically that was a CW show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Real quick before we keep going, can you pull your screen back up real fast and show where people can find Airship? Because we just kind of showed the inside of the book. We didn't give anybody much information on that, and it just clicked in my head that we're going to get yelled at for that tomorrow.
Okay.
If we don't. So, add new to stream.
All right. So you go to the marketplace and let me see. I believe it's been,
Should be pretty new.
yeah.
I don't know. A lot of
I had
books are
actually
coming out really
purchased it.
fast at this point.
I had actually purchased it, so it was in my collection.
Okay.
The Betty White. Okay.
Everybody loves Betty White.
I actually have the hard copy of that.
That Leprechaun one is surprisingly fun to read too, by the way. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sidetracked here. So, yeah, this is the downside of us actually going into launch mode and having hundreds and hundreds of comics. All these comics are coming out so quickly that we ourselves are getting confused at this point. So, so the comic's name is Airship Enterprise Number 1.
Yep.
Creator is Brian Denham.
Antarctic Press. This is such a great comic. I love it.
They put out so many good books, though, man.
Speaking of which, have you guys been leaving reviews? Because I know I have. Bam. I left a review.
Show off.
Have you?
Show off. Okay, getting back into chat. T3 says, I love that Henry and Jack Black are now fighting for Red Dead Redemption TV series. That would be so good. I think it'd be fun as hell to watch. Dominic Colby says, do Mega count as a comic? Yeah. I mean, it's
of course.
what it is, yeah. If so, I can come out and just say all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't that already a show as well, though?
I don't think I've ever seen a Yu-Gi-Oh! Show.
I thought it was. I don't know enough about that scene.
See, yeah, I don't know.
Nobody's Loser says, Fry, you've got to watch the Winchesters. Supernatural prequel. I like Supernatural. I thought it was good. That was one of those shows where I sat down and like watched the first episode, and I was like, what am I watching? And then the mom's like on the ceiling on fire, and I was like, okay, I'm watching.
See, I enjoyed the first season, and then it all kept getting worse, and I got to season like 8 or 9, still waiting for it to get as good as season 1, and it never did. So after, without any spoilers, well, I guess I have to spoil. After the mom came back, I was like, no, I'm done. I just quit.
So Nobody's Loser says, I would leave reviews, but I don't own any comics besides Dreamkeepers number 5. Well, we do not have any news for you right now, but very soon
Stop it.
Some good news.
Stop it.
People can
it.
Will help building out their collection.
Don't say it. Don't stop it.
Just
right.
Throwing it out there. There's some things going on in the background
No. You can't hear Fry. You guys can't hear Fry. Don't listen to him. And you're muted. Ha ha ha. See, now he's gonna say whatever he wants. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you. So be prepared.
and then you guys will just have the book, and it's going to be super, super rad. It's going to be really cool. I think you guys will be excited. Did you guys all catch that? Okay, good. Carrying on.
Yeah, they totally covered.
Dominic
Move on.
Colby says, it's a show, yes, but I just want more, LOL. Okay. Novazu says, oh. Yeah, there are things coming. We make some jokes about these things because there's stuff that we're not allowed to talk about on stream yet. But we're working on some ways to make it so that people will be able to bolster their collections very swagnificantly.
Have you ever seen a movie comic crossover? Like characters from the movies crossing over into comics?
Yeah, I collect them.
Such as?
I do. Well, I really liked it when people would put political elements inside of comics. So I've got like a bunch of really weird, obscure comics with like Barack Obama helping Spider-Man. I thought was hilarious and ridiculous.
That was pretty funny, but I'm talking like a movie or a TV show. For example, this is no joke, guys. Recently, there was a Star Trek Green Lantern crossover.
Well, yeah, they're both ridiculous, so it makes total sense to me. I mean, at that point,
horrifically funny.
At that point, you're just saving your money as a production element. You know what I mean? No, I think my favorite one with those is there was a series that wasn't canon, and it was really short-lived, but it was the old school Ghost Rider with Ash from Evil Dead.
Really?
And that one was pretty cool. I think it only lasted like 2 books, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it wasn't very like the storyline was pretty terrible. Like supposedly they were gonna chase after the Mandarin's son, but if you read the comics, the Mandarin is the Mandarin because of things that happened to his family, and so none of it made sense. Everybody kind of unanimously, downvoted it. We'll word it that way. And now it's one of those comics that just kind of you see inside of a dollar bin every once in a while. No. Big wink. Dominic gets me. T3 says Guardians of the Galaxy both blew expectations for the films and the video game. Did that video game do well? I saw it, and then I swear 15 minutes later I saw it on sale. So I just kind of made the assumption that it didn't do super well. Yes, Matt. They didn't look the same in the game, but I got really good reviews and surprised a lot of people. I'm gonna have to look into that because the Avengers game I thought was awesome, but it was kind of short-lived. Like it didn't. I don't know. Nobody's Illusion says, "Oh, speaking of Green Lantern, I got a Green Lantern comic for $1 at the Friends of the Library." Hell yeah! There you go. There's another one. There's another one that's different in movies and comics. Is Nova Force or whatever the hell from Guardians of the Galaxy. There are 2 comments just reminded me of this. So isn't it Nova Force?
The Nova Corps?
Nova Corps, thank you. Nova Corps in Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of presented as like a buddy cop kind of a thing, like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine type of deal. But inside the comics, if you guys weren't aware, they are a direct ripoff of the Green Lantern Corps.
Oh yeah.
Like absolute ripoff of Green Lantern. I can see the chat, Matt. Do you know that, right? You know that I can see when you're okay. Moving on. T3 says the reviews are really good. It may not have done well originally because of how they looked. The Illusion thinks things are funny. You're just as bad at being sneaky as Jared was.
He taught me well.
Dominic says, "Damn, I tried Matt Fro." That's actually kind of funny. That I like that idea. The Matt Fro. Da da da. I want to make like a Batman intro from like the Adam West Batman. It does like the same sound effects, but it says Matt Fro and just you posed like super show. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we've gone so far off the rails on this thing, dude.
Yes, we
We're
have.
supposed to do like 10 movie things. Gosh. Oh my.
All right.
Like,
so, should we talk about what Superman, like you brought up Superman, what they got right and what they got wrong?
Yeah, right after this. No, Matt Fro. Thank you, nobody illusion.
All right. The one thing I did notice throughout all the Superman movies, well, in the comics, he started off decently strong. I mean, for a superhuman, he was decently strong. Then towards the Silver Age, exponentially stronger, to where he's throwing planets around. And his power set was just started off pretty simple, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And then eventually towards that Silver Age, there was even a comic where he shot miniature Superman out his hand. He had dance powers. No joke. Look it up. In the movies,
I thought that was a very romantic story arc.
Yeah. Back to the comics, they eventually, with Crisis of Infinite Earths, right after that, they really scaled him down and had to kind of build him back up again. I did notice that the movies kind of followed that same trajectory. Started off with simple powers, but even by the end of the movie, was doing stuff like spinning the Earth backwards, and so that would reverse time. That's not exactly how that works.
You don't know.
Yeah,
you don't
true.
know.
I can honestly say I've never done it. But the whole like trying to rebuild the Great Wall by looking at it, just these absurd powers started showing up. And then in Superman 2, he had the S that came off and looked like cellophane that he threw and like wrapped up the other Kryptonians. And you're just like, what is going on here, guys? Like, did you forget what his powers were?
I was just wondering if it was going to pose any danger to sea turtles.
Maybe in the Phantom Zone. But then once you get to the Brandon Roth movies, they really toned it back again. And then started to kind of build that up again with the Henry Cavill. So, granted, I think strength-wise, like we're talking just bench press, Superman was stronger with Brandon Roth and Christopher Reeve, but at the same time, look at Henry Cavill. The dude can throw a punch, so...
So, would you prefer somebody like Paul Newman?
Excuse me?
To play Superman? It sounds to me like your complaint is that Henry Cavill looks like a proper Superman for once.
No, Henry Cavill was the proper Superman. They had built him up more from the Brandon Roth series. And he, in my opinion, he was the perfect Superman. And I'm a little disappointed in James Gunn. If you're hearing me, for shame.
We don't claim you anymore, James.
Unless there is, hear me out. We do have an announcement that the next one is called Superman Legacy, right? And that they're going with a younger Superman. What if it's still Henry Cavill as Kal-El, but this new Superman is his son, Jonathan?
I'm boycotting it either way. It's hashtag not my Superman. I'm just kidding, guys. I wouldn't really do that. I'm just playing off of a joke earlier. Somebody probably tuned in like 5 minutes ago, and they're like, "God, this guy's a dick." I'm also not supposed to cuss.
Probably.
My apologies. Let's see here. Nobody's Illusion comes in chat. By the way, how come we still can't see who redeemed a badge? Because right now we've actually got a little bit of a bug in the system on the activity feed, and we're working on fixing that. We're going as fast as we can, but we're a small team, and there's a big list of things that people want to see, and we try to identify bug fixes and repairs and new features and try to balance things as well as we can. But we're doing the best we can. Nobody's there. Stop yelling at us.
Can I take this thing off yet?
What do you mean take it off? That's a wig? That's been a wig this whole time now. Yeah, of course you can take it off.
No. I want to get the skull cap back on. Remember?
It makes it really weird that you would say it like you're asking for permission. Guys, I don't really keep him in a closet. I really don't. I have Matt locked up in a basement somewhere.
He finally gave Dobby clothes.
This is probably one of the better comments that we've ever had on our stream. I'd like to see an FDR-themed rap group come out whose name is Polio. That's got absolutely nothing to do with anything else, but neither does anything we've had to say about this stream and topic.
True.
By the way, my apologies, Dominic. Dominic Kobe really wanted to see this as a topic, and we just did our thing. And we stuck with it for about 45 seconds. It just kept running. I've got a whole thing in notes here, too.
So do I. I have a total of 14 note cards with information.
And then Nobody Loses says, this is not yelling. This is me yelling, LOL. Dominic Kobe says, Matt, be careful with the Dobby jokes. Remember what happened to Fry. It did happen. There's a badge floating around there somewhere. I thought about making that into an actual sticker too, just for fun. Just
really?
Yeah, but never got around to doing that. Okay, so what is, as far as DC goes, not just Superman, as far as all of DC properties and all the movies that they've done, what is the biggest, injustice that you think that? Okay,
that's easy.
What's the biggest screw up? You can't say injustice because that's also a property. But what's the biggest screw up that you see outside of Green Lantern?
Time. Okay, here's the problem. They're taking 80 years of history and trying to condense it down to 2 hours and make a coherent story. That's been my huge problem with so many of comic book movies in general, not just DC, although it shines brightest in DC. Green Lantern. That would have been such a good movie had they taken 90% of it out and focused on that 10%. Tell that story. Instead, they have to cram everything in. They got, from the origin story of Hal Jordan clear to Blackest Night in the first half an hour, guys. That's a lot of storyline.
X-Men fell into that same trap.
Exactly.
X-Men's
and then they forgot what characters they actually had. Look at Rogue. That is 100% Jubilee, not Rogue.
Mm-hmm. Well, even then, Gambit has 30 seconds of screen time.
He was actually a good Gambit.
But he plays way more of a pivotal role in the comics. Or the fact that Professor X is always a good guy in the movies. Spoiler alert, everybody. He's not always a good guy in the comics.
Oh, amen to that. I remember one comic recently, he got into a disagreement with Scott Summers, and Scott Summers finally had enough and killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler.
Yeah, if you guys want to read an interesting story, and this one's got to be 20 years old at this point or more, but look up Onslaught, X-Men versus Onslaught. That was a great storyline.
Oh
That
yeah,
whole
which
arc
led
was
into
badass.
the initial Heroes Reborn,
Mm-hmm.
which fell flat on quite a few places because of that same reason. It's that time. They tried to condense too much into one small area. Jim Lee's book on the Fantastic Four was great, but the Avengers, not as much. Captain
So
America, that we got some of the most memeable art ever.
okay, so Captain America. So I guess we're kind of shifting over to MCU at this point. But so
Oh, I
Captain
got notes
America.
on MCU.
So Captain America, what do you see as the biggest pull there? To me, it's just that Avengers is such a watered down element in the MCU in the movies as compared to what it is in the comics. You know, like Ant-Man and Wasp, for example. You know, they got their own movies, they got all that kind of stuff, but in
They were
Avengers,
founding members.
they were original. You know what I mean? They were around from the
Yeah,
get-go.
Captain America didn't join until issue 4 after the Hulk left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or
It
like
was Iron Man, Hulk, Ant Man, Wasp, Thor. That was it. That was the Avengers.
technically, yeah. Well, it depends. Yeah. Yes.
That was the founding Avengers right
And
there.
then they adjusted it a little bit later by having like callbacks. Like they tried to say that like Baron Zemo was a part of Avengers forming because it was a part of his devious plans and stuff. Oh, there. You know what? There's a damn character, Baron Zemo. Like
Very, very different.
MCU totally washed that character out. You know what I mean? Totally. Like, do you guys know that Baron Z? Wait, first of all, Chad, do you guys know who I'm talking about in the MCU comics? He's like a bad guy, wears a little bit of purple.
He was the bad guy from Captain America Civil War, and then also Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's also going to be in the upcoming Thunderbolts, which the original Thunderbolts were actually founded by Baron Zemo, and then now it's going to be more Thunderbolt Ross, who was William Hurt, now is going to be, since his passing, is going to be played by Harrison Ford.
Which makes total sense to me. I think that's cool.
Well, that's the one thing I've never understood. You know, some characters, when the actor dies, they're like, oh, you know, we can never recast them. And then you have another character who is iconically portrayed by another actor. They're just like, we'll get somebody else.
Well, so going back to like Zemo. So in the comics, and again, this depends on which run you're looking at too. But we're trying to keep things as original as possible here.
Mm-hmm.
Like Zemo, let me remember this. Make sure I remember. Zemo's dad was a Nazi, and he was the one that froze Captain America in the comics. That's the way it worked. That's how
Captain America was strapped to that bomb trying to disarm it. Basically, if you look at how the Wasp got trapped in the quantum realm, that was Captain America on that bomb.
Yeah, and then, you know, that Nazi dies, and Baron Zemo is trying to like finish what his father had started, and that's what makes him like a really good villain. Is that he's a Nazi after the Nazis are gone. You know what I mean? And continues that on. And I understand that like MCU is a Disney property, and they're not going to put a Nazi in there, so they, you know what I mean, really lean more heavily onto Hydra and stuff like that. And Hydra was in the comics. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, but Hydra was. Oh, AIM is completely different as well. And I got to say, MODOK, very, very different from the comics.
They did my boy dirty. That's all I'm going to say.
If you want to see good MODOK, you got to look at Hulu's MODOK series.
Yes. I love that show too. Hey, guys, hold on. Before anybody starts Googling that one is... It's not adult, but it's not necessarily not adult. You know what I'm saying? So be prepared.
It's Robot Chicken, guys. It's Marvel's version of Robot Chicken.
Yep. And it works. It works really well. Sorry guys, let me check in the chat here. Dominic Colby says, "Is there maybe a badge for giving a stream suggestion that you can all actually take?" There should be.
Ooh,
That's a
there
great
should
idea.
be.
Actually, we will start doing that. Can't promise you that you'll get one for tonight, but we'll have to figure out how to go about that. Or maybe if it's this, what do we do? The same badge every time, and that's just the only way you can unlock that badge, or do we do a different badge? Yeah, we need to figure this out. I like this
We will
suggestion.
brainstorm and
I like this idea.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dominic Colby says, "I've spoke with Fry about this before, but I'm actually wanting to read comics more after finding out that the random scientist who made Captain America in the movie wasn't a random. No, he was not a random scientist. But that's another difference. That's different in the MCU, because in the MCU it's Stark. In the comics, that's different. But if you're also into that same storyline, it was actually replicated again. And if you want to read a more current version of that, read the Deadpool origins, because that one's actually also very different from how Deadpool's origin is portrayed in the movies, but that's because of licensing rights, which is funny. I'll bet you they fix that. But you in Deadpool 3, they fix it. They got to, because if Wolverine's going to be in Deadpool 3, they got to fix it, because that's a huge continuity error for MCU. For those who aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, the Weapon X program that made Wolverine is the same program that makes Deadpool. And in Wolverine Origins, I think it is, where they talk about it. I think it was Wolverine Origins. They reference Deadpool as being, Weapon X1.
12?
Or Weapon
Was it 11?
11, yeah. They do like a throwback to it. But in the comics, what it is that the same project that Wolverine went through, Deadpool was a part of as well. However, it wasn't the same as what you're thinking of if your familiarity is only from the movies.
You're talking about Captain America being Weapon 1.
Yeah, exactly. And so in the comics, during that time frame, it changes from being like a good thing into essentially a form of torture, and how they figure out how to create mutants. And Deadpool is a part of that. And so
now that in the MCU, though, they've had the Hulk as part of that project in a weird kind of roundabout way.
Yeah.
So do you think they're going to add that, essentially not being the Canadian Weapon X like it was in the comics, but maybe America Weapon X, just their base in Canada? And
I mean, I don't know, because if you really go deep into, depending on what storyline you look at, there's also like this supposedly Ultron was secretly a part of Weapon X.
Ultron? No, Ultron was created by Ant-Man.
No. What I'm saying is, depending on which storyline you're looking at in the comics, you could go so far as to then tie in and say that, that what Tony Stark did with Ultron in the MCU, that could be like him continuing the Weapon X project. And that would then explain how Hulk and all those things in MCU terms follow along suit. I just don't think that you could redact everything at this point and go back and say, oh, this is the way everything is made. Because, and so quick clarification. I'm going to get rid of that real quick off the screen. So as Matt was just talking about with Ant-Man, it's not the Ant-Man you know of in MCU that made Ultron. It was the original Ant-Man, like the Ant-Man from the 50s.
Pym.
Yeah. And Pym didn't make him with Jarvis and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm saying, like, I could see them trying to redevelop that storyline into making Weapon X into something that like Tony Stark in the MCU is replicating, and that's why Ultron, went bad, because supposedly the downside of the Weapon X program is you make like this amazing character, but they almost always turn out to be a bad guy. And the Captain America supposedly is the only one that was perfectly done. But, see, I don't know though, because, dude, see, now we're just going into like crazy things, though.
Yeah, we're in theory territory. All right, should we take it back to? Okay, I will say this: one group of characters that they did vastly different from the comics, which is 100% a good thing. If you've ever read the
Drax.
Ultimates, no, I was going to say if you ever read the Ultimates, MCU did Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver a lot better. I'm talking the Ultimates, not the Avengers versions. Not the main 616, but look at the Ultimates. They were brother and sister still, but this time
I am 100% in the club that all comic Scarlet Witches were better than the Scarlet Witch that's been put out.
No, not the Ultimates version. And Fry, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. Everybody else, do not Google it. No.
I know what you're talking about. The reason I say that is because I think that I like the fact that, so they redeemed themselves on the newest Doctor Strange movie. So I can't push this one too hard because Scarlet Witch does Scarlet Witch things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Trying to think of how we could word this so that the voice to text on YouTube doesn't get this friggin' video flagged for something terrible. Scarlet Witch wasn't the best people in the comics, and that story arc has always kind of held true through the comics. And in MCU, they make you really side with her, even in the new Doctor Strange stuff. It's easy to be like, oh, she's just a mom. You know what I mean?
Okay. So here's the problem I had with the comic books is they turned mental illness into a villain.
That's a good point, though. We should do a whole show on this topic.
We'll get 30 seconds in and then derail ourselves. You know us. Okay.
You can still get them. They're just red drops.
No, you know what? Yeah, I still think I like. I mean, I know it's easy for anybody to say like the book was better, but I think Scarlet Witch is definitely one of those elements where any of the books were better. But I think Scarlet Witch was also one of those characters that was never overwritten. That might be a good thing to point out here too.
No,
they left a lot to your imagination.
She was always written as that character who let stuff like depression and the kind of schizophrenic get the better of her. She was the cause of No More Mutants, the Avengers disassembled.
But you never knew, you never knew where the ceiling was on Scarlet Witch's powers. You never knew. And I like that about that character.
That may be true, but they used her depression as the motivation to shake up reality and destroy everything. And she was like, oh, yeah, she was portrayed as the good person until she screwed up. And then everybody's like, oh, we have to defeat Scarlet Witch. And then it was...
they did the same thing with Professor X, though. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. When Professor X went off the rails and becomes Onslaught and decides that the only way to, save mutants is to destroy all of humanity. And yeah, that really happens in the comics.
Okay.
That
wasn't necessarily Professor X. That was also the combined mental state of Professor X and Magneto at war, creating a new being. If you want,
but it's also supposed to be tied directly to his depression, and that depression, no.
But if you want to go with him being a villain, you've got to go with the Danger Room itself.
But I don't think that's so much villainizing the depression as much.
No, not villainizing the depression. I'm talking about Professor X as a villain. The Danger Room was actually alive and sentient, and he kept it trapped in order to fight the X-Men to train them to be better. And essentially that artificial intelligence was desperate to escape and eventually did. And then everybody's like, wait a minute, you had this trapped? Yes. You knew about this? Yes. And you did nothing? I kept it trapped. Shut up.
You know what? I just realized something. If they want to do this right, they need to bring that to the MCU, and Danger should be voiced only by Nathan Fillion.
Well, Nathan Fillion's coming to the MCU as Power Man.
Is he for sure though? Because
as far as I knew, they
Power...
greenlit the Power Man TV show, and they had those posters with Nathan Fillion
in Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah,
yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that. Did they greenlight that as a show?
I thought they did.
Oh, I wonder if it's ever going to be made.
Last I heard.
That'd be kind of cool. See, I thought it was just an Easter egg. Like the same way they had the which game was it? I forget which Spider-Man game it was, but they had posters from a Spider-Man game inside of Venom. Do you remember that? They did that same type of thing.
Well, that's another movie that's completely way off from the source material as well.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I love Venom, but it's off from the source material.
Yeah, it's way off. I mean, like everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is off.
They basically completely skipped the origin as far as his attitude and everything, where he became the Lethal Protector. That wasn't until years of him being a Spider-Man villain. They completely skipped the Spider-Man aspect, which I'm fine with. Once again, it was a great movie. I do like that they started to bring Spider-Man in towards the end of the second one, and then there was zero payoff. But Marvel dropped the ball. I'll admit, Marvel dropped the ball.
Well, that one's really not Marvel. They don't have a choice. That's Sony. Just doing whatever Sony wants to do.
Yeah, but weren't they going to actually do something with that in the Spider-Man movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was Marvel. And then in the end, there was a post-credit scene.
Yeah, and that's what I was
and that
was
was
say.
it.
Like, so they did include it, but I don't think that's so much on Marvel as it is on
Marvel
just
dropped the
the
ball on that
wonky
one.
ass licensing rights, because
Sony set it up perfect, and Marvel dropped the ball.
But that would have been Sony that dropped the ball on that. Marvel didn't manufacture that last Spider-Man film. Sony still retains the rights to Spider-Man.
Yeah, but those Spider-Man movies where they were in the MCU directly were under the supervision of Marvel.
Yeah, but Venom isn't in any of those. And the one that
He's in the post-credit scene.
That wasn't a Marvel. I mean, God, it's so confusing when you do it. That wasn't an MCU film, though. Like, the newest Spider-Man was still a Sony Spider-Man. That wasn't an MCU.
But it still took place in the 616, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's because it has to in order for the current Peter Parker to make any sense to anyone, because of his involvement with Tony Stark. So really...
And Doctor Strange.
Marvel couldn't do anything with that. That was just Sony borrowing MCU characters to make their character make sense. I don't know. I think the best thing that Sony ever did was allow Marvel to have access rights back to the IP of Spider-Man. I mean, they're killing it now financially. You know what I mean? Oh, good question. Good question.
Yes.
Dominic Colby says, Matt keeps saying 616. What is that?
So the actual address of the Marvel studio or the Marvel Comics, did they move? Mm-hmm. I think it used to be 616.
It used to be 616. Yeah.
So they always refer to their proper timeline as the 616.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people put it as, think of 616 as our world.
Yeah, Earth Prime kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then the different variables or variants of the storylines. I think
They're all
was it
numbered.
Loki?
So when you're
I think Loki did a really good job at explaining that, where
yes,
they explain that they tie
um,
off and it turns in, they label it a different number. That's how they made it make sense
yes,
in the MCU. But yeah, 616 would be
the proper
general MCU.
timeline. That's the one you're typically seeing all of your Avengers movies and stuff like that. Outside of that, the different timelines you would have. Well, DC does it as well, but Earth 1 is equal to the 616. And so it just kind of, that's why when I said we were talking about the bad Superman from Brightburn, I was saying Earth 3. That's the, everything is the exact opposite kind of Earth. Everybody that's good is bad. Everybody's bad is good. So,
which I thought they were going to actually do because of the post-credit scene in Brightburn, and that never went anywhere, and that upsets me because the idea of an evil Aquaman would be so badass.
I
so
wanted
much
to
better
see,
than the one we got.
I wanted to see Power Ring, an evil Green Lantern.
Ooh, that could be cool. What about I forget which book it is, but there's a book where Commissioner Gordon, was it a book or was it? Actually, it might have been a treatment that I read. Might not have actually ever made it to a
dream,
book,
but it was probably awesome.
It could have been a fever dream, but where Commissioner Gordon is Joker. Do you remember that one? It was a treatment that I read. Yeah, where it was supposed to take place on Earth 3, and Commissioner Gordon becomes Joker. And that's what makes the Joker so powerful, is that, where did I read that? I think it was just a treatment now that I'm thinking about it. I think it was like an idea for a storyline that was later scrapped. But there you go. That's another thing that's different in movies from the books, is that Commissioner Gordon is always falls victim to Joker, but Joker can never break him. Him and Grayson. Like Joker, those are the two people that Joker can never break. And so that's always like a long-standing thing. But in the movies, like Commissioner Gordon's always kind of just like there. They don't ever really play into that very much. And was it Grayson's costume that they show with the spray paint?
Yes, it was supposed to be Grayson, but that was Jason Todd in the comics.
Yeah.
Who then becomes Red Hood.
Yeah, and so they changed like stuff like that in the movies, and I think it was better in the comics the way DC had it originally. That's right, I said it. DC did something better than the movie. Except for actually now I'm thinking about it. Joker alone could do a whole show. We could do a whole show on that, because Joker.
Oh yeah.
Even after 3 Jokers, nobody knows Joker's real identity. And that's different in the movies. You know his identity right off the bat.
No, they actually did say what it was in the comics.
After 3 Jokers? Or
yeah, it was after 3 Jokers. They were saying that the main one that Batman had always been fighting is Jack Napier.
Oh, they did? Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was such a letdown.
Yeah, sounds like it. It was cooler when it was more of a secret, or when it was more of like a. I liked how they did the Heath Ledger Joker to mirror the way the comics used to be.
Exactly, because that was amazing. Where he gave the 3 different origins.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I like that.
And I actually do know how we got the scars. You remember those old popsicles? As a kid?
Yeah.
You know, you cut the top off.
Nobody just says, now y'all are at an hour and 20 minutes, man. I know.
Oh, wow.
We're supposed to end these at an hour, but we're just tangenting at this point. Have you read Batman White Knight? It's a good take on the Joker. I haven't read that.
I have read it, and I had some problems with it, mostly because of what they've already said in the comics previous. Martian Manhunter tried to get into Joker's mind and figure out why he's insane. And he was like, wow, it turns out that his mind isn't like normal mind, just flat out. And then later on in the comics, they were saying he was actually super sane, so he knew he was a comic book character, much like Deadpool.
Oh, really?
Like that. Oh yeah. And then in this one, they're like, give him antidepressants, and he took it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sane now." I'm like, it's not how it works.
Isn't he
But
supposed to
if you
be
could,
okay? So correct
if you
me
can
here.
overlook that part, it was a pretty good story. I would have liked it had that been a plot of, the Joker, like, I'm going to pretend I'm sane. I'm going to convince everybody that I'm sane. This is going to be good. Watch this.
Hasn't it always been like an unspoken rule that Joker really does have the superpower of not dying?
That I've read that.
That's kind of his thing.
No, not okay. So that was a mandate by the head of DC Comics, I believe, way back when, where Batman used to kill all his villains, and they were eventually like,
well, Comic Code came in, said you can't do this anymore.
This is before the Comic Code, actually. The reason they did it was they're like, hey, stop killing the villains, because your writers are not going to be able to think of new characters every issue.
Oh.
And so it was just more of a cost-cutting, time-saving rule.
Didn't Comics Code Batman, I remember, had to make a huge adjustment for...
Yes, Batman had to make many adjustments, but that was...
I know that's when the Joker became funny. He became like a gag.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's when... I can't believe he was actually saying this.
Like a
if you read the old comics, I think Wayne Manor only had one bedroom because Batman and Robin, as Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, slept in that same bed. And there's many panels of Alfred like waking him up, and they're both sitting up in bed like, "Oh, good morning." And then they're like, "No, they're not gay." It's like, "Oh, okay, I can't defend that." So that's when they brought in Batgirl and Batwoman as love interests for those characters.
Weird too, because Deadpool had the same type of thing. I wonder if people realize that Deadpool in the comics originally, and that's what people got all upset about, because they cast the film with the character of Vanessa. And what people don't realize is that, like, in the comics, Vanessa is a very unpolitically correct character because she's a teenage worker.
Yeah. Well, so is Evie from V for Vendetta.
Yeah. But Deadpool, they had to switch it because Deadpool was in love with her in the comics. They had to switch it because it was such a like risque thing. And then Deadpool falls in love with Death. Yeah, Deadpool falls in love with Death in the comics after that.
Which is like why he's actually immortal.
Yep.
Not because of his mutant powers. It's because he fell in love with Death, and Death started to fall for him, and Thanos got mad at him and made it so he could never see her again, i.e. can't die.
Yeah. So cool. And then that makes even better when they come out with Cosmic Ghost Rider, because he tries to find Death. And that's how you have baby Thanos. That's so great. Dude, that's such a great book. I don't know how you can't just love everything about that book.
I couldn't get behind that story.
You know what we need, chat, is in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be at Amazing Comic-Con, and James Tynion is going to be there. I want everybody to come up with the best question for James Tynion that you can think of. That would be cool.
Yes. Everybody, start messaging us now with just some kind of hashtag questions for Tynion.
Yeah, or Chad. Chad will be at that event as well. Chad Harden.
Okay.
You guys have questions for Chad? Message
those. Well,
we'll do our best to try to get in.
Okay, I thought you were saying ask Chad stuff. I'm like, well, you don't want to just ask him without letting him know that we're putting him under the spotlight.
No, yeah, I'll talk to him beforehand. I'll I'll bet I
Okay.
could probably get some type of questions. But both of them are having a Q&A panel, and I don't mind being a loud, boisterous jerk that stands up in the middle of the panel. This person on YouTube asks. I mean, anyway, but we're at an hour and a half. We need to wrap this thing up before we get freaking shut down. Before it's hashtag not my crypto comics podcast.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Please, please, please like, share.
Sure.
Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. But seriously, if you could hit that like button, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please do.
Okay, have they hit it yet?
I don't know. Did you hit it?
Everybody in chat,
awkward.
go ahead and hit it now.
Welcome to the Dreamkeepers.
What was
I
that?
don't know why I clicked the wrong thing.
Oh, okay.
Click
I was
the
like,
wrong
that's
thing.
not the.
So you think I could pull off the high top thing? Like how long does your hair need to be able to do the high top thing? Because
You know what?
I've
If
been looking
with
for
enough,
do you think it,
what is that? Hairspray?
little hairspray?
That
Do you
could
think it would
work.
fit underneath my helmet on the bike? What do you think?
That
Like,
could totally work.
it's up
Why did
there.
you take it off?
I'm just wondering if I could pull off the high top thing.
You should try for next episode.